For as long as people have called this place home, they've been welcomed with clean air, clean water, and an abundance of nature. As time went on, people saw the need to balance how we build cities with how we protect farms and forests. That's why across Greater Portland, in 24 cities and 3 counties, there's one Metro government that brings us all together to maintain that vital balance, to provide services across cities and counties, to create a better future together. Hello, we're Metro. We plan for housing, jobs, and safe transportation. We protect land, air, and water by managing garbage and recycling. We support arts and culture by overseeing local venues to keep the economy growing. And we connect people to nature across 17,000 acres of parks and trails and at the Oregon Zoo. Metro is all of us working together, connecting how we live today with how we plan for the future. Hello, we're Metro, and so are you.
I would like to gavel in, since we have a quorum, the business meeting for November 10th, 2022. Connor, will you please call the roll for attendance?
Yes, thank you, President Peterson. I think we have somebody unmuted, so make sure just your laptop camera or your laptop sound is completely off. You sound okay now. Okay, Councilor Gonzalez.
Good morning. Sorry I can't be there. Person.
Good morning. Councilor Wong.
I'm present. Thank you.
Councilor Nolan.
Present.
Councilor Craddock.
Present.
Councilor Rosenthal.
Good morning. Present.
Councilor Lewis.
Present.
And President Peterson.
Here, thank you. All right, before we begin our agenda items, can we please play the safety video for our in-person
I'm Micah Reese, and I'm the dive
attendees?
safety officer here at the Oregon Zoo. And safety is a big part of my job. Some of the things we consider here is diver safety. I'm out here at the Oregon Zoo, and you're at the Metro Regional Center. The council chamber is located on the 3rd floor of this building. In the event of fire or fire alarm, please exit through the door in the northeast corner of the room, go down the steps to the 2nd floor, and exit through the main entrance by the reception desk and gather in the courtyard outside the entrance. In the event of a medical or fire emergency, please call 911 and notify the security agent at the front desk. The nearest defibrillator is mounted on the steps leading from the reception desk down to Grand Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, before we start our meeting today, I would like to thank the voters of this region for their continued support of the Metro's Park and Nature Levy. The voters spoke pretty loud and clear this November with a 72% in favor vote of our Parks and Nature Levy. They continue to care deeply about our clean water, healthy fish and wildlife habitat, and opportunities to enjoy the benefits of nature close to home. So once again, it's also good to see that there is a good amount of support for the Parks Levy renewal in Happy Valley, as well as the Parks Bond in Tualatin. They both look like they're pulling ahead, and again, this region really does value restoring habitat and also access to nature for all. So with their voters' strong support, Metro can continue to restore fish and wildlife habitat, maintain safe and welcoming visitor facilities across our park system, and support community nature projects throughout the greater Portland region. Just as we are stewards of the land, we are all stewards of public investment. And that's a role that we take very seriously at Metro. And the results show in the health of our rivers and streams, the wildlife returning to our forests and wetlands, and the experiences of people at parks and natural areas across the region. I'm proud and grateful that the voters have shown their trust by renewing our Parks and Nature Levy. This is the 6th time. Voters have entrusted Metro with this mission over the last 25 years. I also want to express my gratitude on behalf of the council to our great Parks and Nature staff for their hard work to uphold this trust through the implementation of our previous bonds and levy measures. And I know the team is working hard to be ready for implementing the next 5 years once the new levy officially begins in 2023. And I'm sure council will look forward to updates on that in the future. But finally, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the whole council to our partners and supporters who have stood with us for parks and nature time and time again. Metro can't protect our natural environment alone. From nonprofits to local elected officials, dozens of community and conservation partners helped shape and support the levy renewal measure. With the voters' overwhelming mandate, we'll continue working together to provide parks and nature and a legacy of health and well-being for all future generations. So thank you, council, for all of your support as well.
Woohoo!
I know.
Congratulations.
Celebration. With that, we'll move on into public communication. Connor, will you please describe to the audience our procedures for the public communication on non-agenda items for the meeting?
Yes, thank you. So if anyone wishes to testify on non-agenda items, now is the time to do so. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes, and our council assistant will be managing a timer to go off at the 3-minute mark. If you have not already signed up to speak, you can do so now by filling out, if you're here in person, by filling out one of the blue cards in the back of the room. We have staff available to bring those up to me. When you're testifying in person, please be sure to project your voice into the microphone. You can move it closer to yourself if needed, but you do not need to mute or unmute it. For those joining us virtually, you can sign up to testify by hitting the raise hand button on Zoom. The raise hand button, depending on your version of Zoom, is at the bottom of your screen or within the reactions tab. If you're dialing in on your phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. In order to allow those testifying online today to turn on their cameras, I'll be promoting you to a full panelist. So I'll call your name and you will see a window pop up asking you to accept that promotion. Once you hit accept, you'll rejoin as a panelist where you'll be able to turn on your camera and unmute yourself. And as a reminder for everybody testifying today, you do not need to give your physical location. However, please do identify yourself for the record before testifying. All right, President Peterson, we've had nobody sign up in advance to testify, and I don't see any hands going up. Maybe we could just give folks 1 or 2 more seconds, and still no hands.
All right, thank you. With that, we'll close the public communication portion of the meeting on non-agenda items. We'll move on to our consent agenda. Today's consent agenda consists of 2 items: consideration of the June 30th council meeting minutes, any resolution number 22-5289 for the purpose of adding existing projects to the 2021 through 26 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program, or MTIP, to meet required fall obligation targets or federal approval steps. Do I have a motion for resolution number 22-5289?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Lewis and seconded by Councilor Nolan. Councilors, any discussion? All that, right. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Thank you.
If I could, Madam President, I think I'm still having an echo here. And that is my error. I unmuted myself. Automatic habits die hard. This was the consent agenda. You asked for a motion and approval for the resolution by number.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So if we could just go ahead and ask for a motion and approval of the minutes as well.
Yep, sorry, everybody. Do we have to resend the other one? Okay.
No, you do not. Just
Okay.
act just on the minutes alone.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
It was, who moved that?
Juan Carlos.
Oh, thank you. Moved by Councilor Gonzalez and seconded by Councilor Nolan. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
A.
E-I-O.
And now I'm going to get the giggles. All those opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, it passes. Thank you. We'll move on to our ordinances for today. Ordinance number 22-1486 for the purpose of annexing to the Metro District boundary approximately 53.76 acres located east of Northwest Helvetia Road in Hillsborough. Councilors, as you recall, we had our first reading and public hearing on this item on November 3rd. At the time, we received no testimony on this matter, but today we have our Principal Regional Planner, Tim O'Brien, here to answer any questions. Tim, coming forward. Councilors, do we have any follow-up questions from last time? Seeing no hands raised, do I have a motion on the actual ordinance number 22-1486?
I move for approval of ordinance number 22-1486 for the purpose of annexing to the Metro District boundary 53 plus acres that are located near Helvetia Road.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councilor Craddock and seconded by Councilor Rosenthal. Are there any questions? Any statements? Seeing no hands raised, Connor, will you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you. Councilor Wong.
Aye.
Councilor Rosenthal.
Aye.
Councilor Craddock.
Aye.
Councilor Nolan.
Yes.
Councilor Lewis.
Aye.
Councilor Gonzalez.
A.
And President Peterson.
Aye. It passes. Thank you. All right, we will move on to other business. We have an affordable housing bond site acquisition team update and some guests. I'm very excited. Councilors, we established an affordable housing site acquisition program to support the Regional Affordable Housing Bond Program approved by voters in 2018. This program works with local implementation partners in the acquisition of sites and through providing financial support to the projects selected for those sites. In the creation of this program, Council directed staff to ensure that 4 core values were developed and refined through extensive stakeholder engagement. Those are to lead with racial equity, create opportunity for those in need, create opportunity throughout the region, and to ensure long-term benefits and good use of public dollars. We had our last affordable housing update at our July 19th council meeting and have staff here today to provide an update on the progress of site acquisition. We have Patricia Rojas here to start us off. Our Metro's Regional Housing Director, welcome.
Sorry, I think we're all kind of getting used to
You're
being back in person. All right, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good morning, Council President. Thank you, and councilors. My name is Patricia Rojas. I'm Regional Housing Director for Metro, and I use she and her pronouns. This morning, I'm joined also by my colleagues, Aaron Key, Urban Policy and Development Manager for Metro, Emily Lieb, Housing Program and Policy Manager, and John Williams, Principal Development Project Manager. If folks want to go ahead and join, that would be great. So we also have a very, very special guest, Willie Poinsett. Willie is a Lake Oswego resident and member of Respond to Racism Lake Oswego. So we are excited to be here this morning to share the excellent work and progress that we have made on the Affordable Housing Bond Site Acquisition Program. Voters passed the Affordable Housing Bond in 2018 because rents were skyrocketing and we had a growing gap of affordable units. Voters also understood that to address the needs of a growing population experiencing homelessness, that we would need to build more affordable units across the region. Once the measure passed, we got to work. And we did what we do best. We brought jurisdictions together to accomplish great things. We brought 7 jurisdictions together to build 3,900 affordable units, and we are making progress and doors are opening every day. Some jurisdictions had experience doing this work. They had capacity and expertise, while others were new to this work. So Metro strategically leveraged the capacity of our transit-oriented development team to support the goals of the Affordable Housing Bond. This team has centered the needs and values and voices of the communities that we serve. Through this work, we've been able to exercise our values and, most importantly, advance our mission of seeing a more equitable community. Today, you're going to hear about the progress towards the site acquisition goals, as well as the transformational impact that we are already having. I'll now pass it to Emily Lieb, our program manager for the Affordable Housing Bond, to walk us through the program framework and the relationship with the site acquisition program.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
No.
I'm not seeing my light.
There you go.
Oh, there I go. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Emily Lieb, she, her pronouns. I'm happy to be here in person today. Next slide, please. I'm going to keep this very brief, but just to ground us all in where the site acquisition program fits in the broader affordable housing bond framework. Our work, as Patricia shared, is grounded in a regional policy framework that the council approved in 2018 following extensive stakeholder engagement, and it's further operationalized in the Affordable Housing Bond Work Plan, which was approved by the council in 2019. And the Affordable Housing Work Plan included an allocation framework that directed 90% of the funds with associated unit production targets to our 7 jurisdictional partners, the 3 counties and the cities of Portland, Gresham, Hillsborough, and Beaverton, outlined on the map. And then 10% of the funding was allocated to be administered by Metro through the site acquisition program. Metro Council also appointed a community oversight committee that provides ongoing oversight and monitoring and brings an annual report to the council, which last came to you in July of this year, and included progress in the site acquisition program. Next slide, please. This is our production dashboard. As of September, we had 34 projects in the Affordable Housing Bond pipeline, representing over 3,200 new affordable homes, including over 1,400 homes under construction and over 500 that are complete and in the process of accepting residents. We're currently tracking, as you can see, ahead on all of our unit production goals relative to resources committed. That's the result of rapid action by our partners to move forward quickly, avoiding some of the impacts that we expected from cost escalation. As we have seen and discussed, the financial landscape has shifted and we are seeing cost escalation, so we do expect that we will have higher per unit costs with our remaining bond investments. Of the 34 projects in our pipeline, 7 of those are on sites Metro owns and are being developed through a partnership between Metro's site acquisition program and our local jurisdiction partners. And today is a chance for you to hear about those projects and that program's progress. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, John Williams from the site acquisition program.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily, Council President, Metro Council. I just want to also acknowledge the rest of the SAP team, our manager, Aaron Key, and my colleagues, Pat McLaughlin, Andrea Pastor, and Troy Renata from Communications. Thank you. Today, I'm really happy to be updating you on the progress of the site acquisition program. This is just an update. There's no action required. And next slide, please. So we'll just be going through how the program works, how we're working to advance racial equity, update on some of our project metrics, and share some highlights from the work we've been doing and some conclusions. Next slide, please. So our program, as Emily shared, is approximately 10% of the overall housing bond. We deploy those funds in partnership with our local jurisdictional partners in acquiring sites that support their local implementation strategies and production goals, and then financing development. And we do that, in doing that, we are really centering our work in finding sites that will be work well for the residents, and also really engaging community in setting values for those sites. So next slide, please. As you just can see, the $62 million is allocated proportionally in sort of a similar proportion as the rest of the housing bond between the jurisdictions. And we're not spending money just on sites. That is really, we're buying sites and we're doing the gap financing on it. And so we're targeting approximately 8 to 9 sites in total. Next slide, please. So we're really glad to be able to have this program because we really believe it allows us to even more deeply embed equity in the housing bond work. We were able to really target sites where low-income residents want to live and do not currently have the opportunity to live because of gentrification or just economic infeasibility. We're able to really embed community values into setting values and goals for these sites in partnership with community. And finally, because we have sites in desirable locations, so we're able to bring the gap financing to the table, we're really able to attract a wide range of developer partners and really selecting the developer partner who's most committed to our equitable vision. Next slide, please. So as far as really targeting where people want to live, how do we know where we want people to live? We asked. We had forums with several community organizations in partnership with the Housing Bond and also the Transportation Measure and the Parks Measure with Unite, Apano, Coalition for Communities of Color, several different organizations. We had about 140 feedback surveys as well as 958 online survey responses. And what we heard was people want to live near transit so they aren't car dependent. They want to be near grocery stores so they have access to fresh food. They want to be near parks and they want to be near schools. And so those are our priorities as we're looking at sites. And we're also looking at areas where people do not have the option to live right now because of affordability, lack of affordable housing options. And the second piece that we're really excited about is because Metro, as a government agency, we have some advantages that our affordable housing partners don't have. We're able to really take the risk of buying a site without having to worry if there will be financing to take it out. So it can be a really risky thing for an affordable housing developer to buy a site not knowing where their financial take it out. So we're able to kind of take that risk off the hands of our affordable housing partners and get really good sites. And because we have cash, we're a cash buyer and we all know what the advantages of that are. And just one more point, in Hillsborough, for example, the city has really only been able to attract affordable housing developers when they've been able to have a public ownership of sites. So they've done one project, which was a publicly owned site. Their second housing bond project will be this Metro-owned site. Next slide. And then what we're really able to do is partner with community in setting site-specific goals for the project. So all the projects are obviously guided by the local implementation strategies of each of our partner jurisdictions have set and also the Metro housing goals. But we're really able to talk to people who live in that neighborhood, who have connections to those neighborhoods, and really understand what success in that particular location will mean for the people who are going to be living there. And when we're asking that, we're asking neighbors, but we're also really making sure that we're engaging people from BIPOC communities, people who are living currently or have experienced living in low-income housing, and people who are formerly homeless. So we're working with that plus broader community to set values for these projects that we then incorporate into our developer solicitations. Next slide. And then because we are able to bring these sites along with gap financing, we have the whole universe of affordable housing developers to really choose from when we're looking at sites. We're not dependent on who happens to own a site already in this particular jurisdiction. We're able to find the developer who really is committed to our equity values. And then we're also able to bring people from our engagement process into the developer selection process. So we have sort of a closed loop around this. And I think as a result, we're really able to get projects that are in equitable locations with a clear vision set by community and then partners who are really committed to delivering on that. So next slide, please. And so to date, we have 6 sites that are, 6 of our targeted 8 sites that are either acquired already or under contract. We have 2 developers selected already. So on their Monica Station site, which is less than a quarter mile from Monica Station in Beaverton, we have reached CDC selected. And then our 74th and Gleason site, we have Related Northwest in partnership with ERCO and Catholic Charities developing that site. And then we have some other sites throughout the region which we'll be sharing. Next slide. So just to highlight a few of the sites we've worked on. So the first one is our 74th and Gleason site, close in Portland, rapidly gentrifying area. We were able to do engagement with working with ACO, African Youth Community Organization, to get over 800 refugee survey respondents who are in that service area to get their values, as well as a panel of BIPOC community members, immediate neighbors from the school, people who are homeless or formerly homeless, and low-income people. And again, we created a statement of values around that. I'd say the two really important values that came out of that was a real strong desire for green open space, and because it's on a commercial corridor, having those ground floor uses be things that really benefit low-income residents in the broader community. And we were able to get 5 responses and very robust competition, and we have a proposal that is now moving forward, which I mentioned before is related with ERCO and Catholic Charities, and they have delivered on a large, all of the parking is tucked under the building, so there's a large central courtyard area that provides really meaningful play space for the children who are going to be living there. And then we have a ground floor cafe that is going to be providing, this organization, Stone Soup, that's going to be providing workforce reentry training, and then a preschool that is going to be run by ERCO and be serving both the residents and the broader community. Next slide, please. So the next site that I just want to highlight is our Barbara Boulevard site on the southwest quarter. The map at the top is from Metro's Equity Atlas, and the blue is basically areas that are equity priority areas because of concentrations of minority populations and also low-income populations, and the green dots are where we have affordable housing. So you see this little island of blue with no affordable housing anywhere near it. And so we were able to target that site and then partner with Southwest Equity Coalition, which is an organization that Metro has supported the formation of to do planning along the Southwest Quarter. And again, create that same panel and again create a vision for that site. We were also able to partner with Multnomah County. It is a former motel, and so it's been able to use that site as interim shelter space. And we have just closed our developer solicitation. We have 4 really strong proposals and look forward to moving forward on those. And then our final project, next slide, please. Really excited to be sharing. So this is our site in Lake Oswego in the Lake Grove neighborhood. This is a site that the city of Lake Oswego had been using as construction staging for Boones Ferry Road. And so we're able to do a partnership with the city, which agreed to rezone the property to allow multifamily housing. And then our partner, Housing Authority of Clackamas County, has committed additional gap funds to it. And again, we've been able to do, this neighborhood it's a really wonderful neighborhood, walkable to a grocery store. We think we'll be able to get 50 units on it, and also about a mile away from Lake Grove Elementary School. And so again, we were able to do engagement with people who are, people who are low income, who've lived their whole lives in Lake Oswego, as well as people of color and people from different organizations that serve people of low income populations. And so again, we were able to create a statement of values, which we'll be embedding into our RFP, which will be going out in February. Some of those values that came out were really around preserving the feel of the neighborhood and the forested feel of the neighborhood. There's the bus service there is not what people would like it to be, and so real focus on figuring out how we can provide mobility to people once they're living there, and also how we can really ensure that the people who are living there really feel connected and have connections within the community, and how we can build those bridges. And so with that, next slide, I'm really honored to welcome up Willie Poinsett. She is a 36-year resident of Lake Oswego. She is the co-founder of Respond to Racism Lake Oswego. She is a former teacher and principal, and she donated a huge amount of her time for our engagement process. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Willie to say a few words.
Thank you. Good morning again. My name is Willie Poinsett, and I had the honor to serve on the Affordable Housing Committee in Lake Oswego as part of the community process, and I said it was an honor. I really enjoyed it. I am a former teacher, principal, and as was said, the founder of Respond to Racism in Lake Oswego. I've resided in Lake Oswego for the past 36 years, a place that I never dreamed would be possible for me to live. Let me share a bit about me and tell you a little about my story. I was born in Sumter, South Carolina, and lived way out in the country with no indoor plumbing or electricity. My mother went to 3rd grade, and my father could not read or write. We were poor, but my mother had a dream. She wanted a better life for me. So when I was in 6th grade, she took a job as a sleep-in maid in New Jersey. She left me in South Carolina for a short while until she could find a place for me to live. That place was a room in a rooming house for 2 years until she was able to get an apartment in the projects, the low-income housing. I was ecstatic. Low-income housing, an apartment. I can still, to this day, remember when I got twin beds. And the way I could set up things that were mine and having the water, the running water, having the warmth, having washing machines, other things there, the comforts that made it really special. We stayed in that apartment until I completed my first semester of college. And then my mother said, "You can take it from here." And she went back home. It's been hard, but it's been rewarding. Lake Oswego has a dark past, a dark history. But my hope has been that it will become a welcoming place for all ethnicities and income levels. It's my dream and my hope. I have made my position about affordable housing very clear in the town, in my city. And so people who work there should be able to buy a place or rent a place where they can reside with their families. Lake Oswego has a great school system, and it's a really pleasant place to be. And it should be open to people that look like me, people that have my background, people that are different languages, people that are not wealthy. We don't want a mega mansion. We just want some housing that people can have and have a pleasant place to be. And so I'm happy. This is a really good time for us. I look forward to the day that we break ground and the shovels come out, and I can say, affordable house is here, and we welcome all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, not much to say after that. Just next slide, please. Just to conclude, first of all, thank you, Willie, for coming. We're moving forward with our program. We really do believe that we are able, by the locations that we're getting sites, to really be driving equity by getting sites that for other affordable housing developers who have a hard time locating in. Really working to elevate the voices of marginalized people and setting goals for our projects, and they're really attracting developers capable and committed to delivering on our values. We're on schedule. We've got 6 of 8 sites under contract, 2 developers selected, 4 RFQs in process, and we're chipping away in Washington County to get our last 2 sites right now. And as I mentioned before, we're getting really strong response from our developers on these sites. There's a real strong, it's hard to get sites, and our affordable housing partners really appreciate us being able to secure these sites. And so with that, next slide, open up to questions.
Thank you. And thank you, Willie, for that presentation. As you spoke, a quote came back to my mind from a video celebrating, I think it was 100 or 125 year anniversary of Lake Oswego. And that video, I almost walked out because there was a sentence that said, and then the city of Lake Oswego made a series of decisions to make it an exclusive community. Pretty blatant. And your story and the work that you've done and this affordable housing program that we've created in this region, which is groundbreaking, really, you're changing the narrative. You're changing the narrative to make it an inclusive community, not one that makes a series of exclusive decisions. So thank you. Councilors, any questions for staff? Oh, Councilor Lewis and McCall.
Thank you so much. I first want to thank Willie for coming, for your work in Lake Oswego, for your work helping Lake Oswego come from behind and actually lead in Clackamas County on how this work is done, not only housing work, but housing as a tool for equity. We have seen such incredible progress, not only with what's on the ground, but with, I believe, the attitudes of some of the folks that I have the privilege of represent and your neighbors. In addition to saying thanks, I do want to kind of assert something that is probably pretty obvious, but I don't think we've given explicit council direction. But in this program, we are going after attractive sites, and we're mostly going off of what's out there on the market. And I want to encourage our staff and our leadership to not be afraid of spending money in order to get the sites we know we need. This is not the program, and in order for us to achieve the goals we want, this is not the program to go to 2nd or 3rd tier sites. We want to find the best sites for people to live in communities where they want to live, close to the amenities. And I know in particular, at least one of these sites, it came down to market value was like less than $1 million off of what we had penciled in. At the end of the day, the opportunity cost of losing a site is pretty significant. So I just want to assert that I believe that this is the place where we need to lean in to identifying the sites we want and we go get them. That's my personal.
Thank you, Councilor. Go ahead.
Oh, and then finally, I am just really pleased to see that map and that we have been able to touch every county and all corners of the region. So thank you to the staff and the team who have really paid attention to that level of detail.
Great. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Craddock.
Well, congratulations to Patricia, Emily, John. What wonderful work this is. I'm so proud of it. What I find most impressive is that affordable housing is being built throughout the entire region. In the past, the only county that was building affordable housing was in Multnomah County. And so most of the affordable housing that was being built for many years was all in Multnomah County, which concentrates poverty, but also doesn't allow people to live where they need to live and want to live. And so this program is really changing the game out there of having housing available for everyone wherever they want to live. And of course, this housing that is being planned in Lake Oswego is really a real step forward. So thank you and congratulations on your hard work. This is really something we can be so proud of. It's a great project and a great program, and just really pleased with the progress that we've made. And Willie, thank you for your inspirational message. I very moved by it, and it's very clear with the value of being able to live, how important it is to be able to live where you want to live and be able to do the things you want to do. So thank you for your advocacy, and thank you for joining us today and telling your story. It's very moving, and really enjoyed listening to it. So thank you for your time. I do have a question, and just what for the future question. I recognize maybe this can't be done at this point in time, but just to plant that seed. So I'm really proud of the 74th and Gleason project. What's really unique about this one, or they're all unique, but one thing that's really, I think, creative about this is working with Multnomah County and the Preschool for All program to be able to find a way to have daycare / preschool at this facility on site. Nothing could be more valuable than being able to have daycare near or preschool, and both where you live. Boy, nothing can be better for a young family. And so I hope that you'll begin to think about, as I recognize we're going to be expending our funds in this particular part of the program, but as you work with the cities and the counties in the region that still have funding available to build more affordable housing, of course, those have to be the ones that are in Multnomah County, that we continue to work to see how can we join these two together, having a preschool / daycare housed right in the same building as these new projects or new facilities. So I just want you to think about that. We probably already are, but what a way to have two government agencies working together, and a real opportunity for those of us that live here in the region. So just ponder that, and as we move forward into the future of housing, maybe preschool / daycare can be a major part of what we do in the future.
Councilor Craddock, yeah, thank you for that point. We're very interested in trying to do wherever we have sites that are suitable for that, to try to find what are the ground floor uses that are really going to be complementary to the low income, the residents of that housing. It's something that we've done a lot of, we've had the experience of doing on the Orchard at 82nd, and we're interested in continuing to do with our TOD program. As you may be aware, it is more challenging sometimes to include those uses. It adds some cost to the projects. But when we're hearing through our engagement that that's a priority, we're able to do that. And so that's one of the reasons our engagement is so important, because it says, yes, it is worth the extra cost. So thank you.
Council President Peters, may I ask make one more comment? So, just to add to this, something that can really help a young mother get back to work and be able to get back into the workforce and being able to help support their family is having daycare, preschool really close. And one of those opportunities is if you're a nursing mom, you want to be able to work and be close to your child. And so these kinds of facilities could really help make a difference in helping moms get back into the workforce sooner if they want to and need to. So there's just so many opportunities and advantages of having more daycare / preschool near where we live. So thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to add, Counselor, that was part of the findings in the SEDS, our economic development policy action items, so to speak. But where does that sit, right? This is one of the places where it can sit is, and with any partnerships that we could possibly bring to the table to make sure that that's available. Obviously, Metro Kids has always been an asset to Metro, and being able to attract people to work here. And we know how important that is. So thank you for continuing to look for that and any partnerships. I think Councillor Wong can speak to the Social Innovation Director hiring that just went live. And maybe how do we partner up with foundations and grant making to see if we can marry these things up. Councillor Wong, would you like to go next?
Oh, sure. Thank you, Madam President, and thanks to all the staff for that presentation, and to Willie for coming to share your story. First thing, I just want to give an update on on the 74th and Gleason side, I'm actually really excited to say that ICO, who is our community partner there, has actually purchased a building at 82nd and Division at the J District, and will be moving there in the next month or two. So that's a really exciting story. But I think building on kind of that story, I'm wondering, if we can think about some policy setting around capacity building for local community-based developers. And, I think one thing that we're seeing across the region is that based on our kind of scoring criteria, we're seeing a lot of like national for-profit developers coming to our region and partnering with local nonprofits, especially culturally specific ones, because that seems to be the winning combination of expertise, balance sheets, and culturally specific service provision. And I have a real kind of focus on promoting kind of local, the health and capacity of our local ecosystem, and not just supporting or having national developers come in. And also concerned about some of the power differentials that come out when you have large-scale developers with a lot of experience and resources, and how do we ensure that our local partners, especially service providers, are at a level playing field. So I know in California there's some different guardrails, but I'm wondering if we might consider some of those in our policies when we make awards and grants. Is like, how are we really supporting kind of our local ecosystem development?
Thank you, Councilor Wong. I really appreciate the question. One of the things that the Housing Department and the Site Acquisition Program have been working together with Choya Renata is to go back and engage with a lot of our community-based partners who've been partners in our housing bond projects and other projects, and really look at what are the best practices for those partnerships, and what makes a partnership that is going to be capacity building over time for those organizations, and what kind of red flags should we look at where it's a shotgun marriage that really isn't going to be building capacity for the organization. So that's work that we're doing right now, and we look forward to sharing it and for it to be influencing our next steps.
And I think that's one of those efficiency versus effectiveness conversations where we might see some short-term savings because of savings in terms of having a great balance sheet and things like that, but that comes at the expense of long-term capacity building of our local partners. So just wanted to flag that. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Councilor Rosenthal, and then Gonzalez, and then Lewis.
Thank you, Madam President. It's a great program. I like the presentation. I think it's really got all the right objectives and putting people where they need to be and where they want to be. I think is very important. One question I'm just a little unclear. You highlighted 8 sites. Is there a potential for adding more sites as we go forward? I mean, we haven't spent all the money on the bond, and we have 34 sites overall. That includes these 8 sites, I assume. So most of them are privately owned or whatever. So will we be adding more as we go forward or looking for more sites?
So our budget, so we're deploying those funds in partnership with each of our local implementation partners. And so we want to make sure that we acquire the sites, but we also have the gap financing available to ensure that we hit our, so we can develop those sites with the affordability we want and the bedroom sizes that we want. And so we've budgeted that we can do 8 sites really well with our partners. And so that's where we are with the resources that we have right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilor Gonzalez.
Thanks, President Peterson. Just to be real brief, sincerely love the work that we're doing in this area. And, my aspiration, goal, focus is to make sure that all of this capacity and this momentum that we've built in the region, that we can continue it as we, begin to do the final allocations of the bond and to spend that down. I'm really ready for a conversation with regional partners around what a housing bond 2.0 can potentially look like. So this has just been so successful, and I think is a really respected work across the region. I really appreciate everyone's hard work, and we also appreciate you coming and sharing your story with us, and the work that's happening in Lake Oswego and in cities throughout the region. Thanks.
Thanks, Councilor. Councilor Lewis.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm now also thinking about a next iteration or bond 2.0. And I'm wondering if we had any conversations with land trusts about this money in this program specifically. I know more broadly we did, but in terms of acquisition, that might be the most strategic place for partnerships. So if you could detail any previous work with land trust on the acquisition program or opportunities as we're thinking for a future project.
So I'll take a first cut and then pass it over to my colleagues in the housing department. We have been really focused on the rental housing piece for the most part with this program, just because the model exists, we know how to do it. We know there have been some partners who are interested in land trust model for home ownership. And I'll pass over to Patricia and Emily if they want to say more.
No, you turned it off.
His buttons there. So we have had some conversations with land trusts, Habitat, Proud Ground, others. We know that multiple jurisdictions are actively exploring opportunities with those partners and hoping that as part of the final spend down of their bond funds, which will all be committed between now and 2024, they are exploring the potential to use some of those final investments toward an affordable homeownership partnership. So I think 4 jurisdictions, I know Gresham, Hillsborough, Clackamas County, and Portland have all been exploring those opportunities, and we are ready to provide support and partnership where we can.
Yeah, I think it's a really important conversation as we move forward in crafting. It was not part of the conversation in putting the last bond together. I don't think any of us were here except Councilor Craddock when that conversation was here. So, but I think a dedicated stream of funding is really where our partners would like to know that there's, even if there's flexibility somehow in the program of a percentage of housing output, right, that we're trying to get to that creates that intergenerational wealth opportunity. So I think it's a really important conversation as we move forward. So thank you. Councilor Nolan.
Yes, on that point, Madam President, someone contemplated it because the authority to support home ownership programs exists in the current bond.
Mm-hmm.
So we were thinking about it, but we didn't follow through. There is still opportunity with funds remaining in the bond to do an initial 1 or 2 of those projects. I would echo Councilor Lewis's suggestion that particularly as we look forward to a subsequent opportunity for the voters to invest further, that home ownership be a significant part of it. Home ownership is the way Americans build wealth for their family's security, for their retirement, for security, sometimes for investments in higher education. And offering that to lower income families is an important part of what I see our mission and ethic being.
Thank you. Councilor Rosenthal, your hand is up. Did you?
Well, I wasn't meant to be up, but I just say that I got that same feedback. I think it's a good idea from the Home Builders Association that investing in long-term equity and wealth is something that we didn't quite have perfectly the first time.
Great. Well, thank you.
And to finish that point, to echo Councilor Huang's interest in supporting local partners and particularly supporting smaller businesses, co-bid businesses in housing construction as well. I've got some good friends in the Home Builders Association, but we should be looking to using home ownership programs here as well as rental properties here as a mechanism for building business capacity in communities of color and otherwise low-income people so that they can build investment in their homes as well as in businesses that build those homes.
Thank you. Good point. All right. With that, thank you for all of the hard work and the success of this program. It's been not a long 4 years. It's been a quick 4 years to build a program and achieve the kind of successes that we have all achieved together. And I just want to say thank you to the team here at Metro, and thank you. Willie, you are now representing all of the folks that have participated. You're embodying all of them today. So thank you for your time and participation. I'm glad to hear it was a good way to participate and that it was worth your time and energy. So thanks for being here. And with that, we'll move on to our next agenda item. But we can clap. Yay! Awesome. Thank you, everybody. All right, we'll move on to our Chief Operating Officer Communication. We have Andrew Scott with us today.
Great. Yes, thank you, President Peterson and Council. Just one really quick update today. I wanted to let everyone know that the 2022 Community Giving Campaign has kicked off last week. So throughout November, Metro staff are going to have an opportunity to connect with their colleagues and support causes that they care about, either by donating time, money, or items for the silent auction. In last year's campaign, we raised about $52,000 from 91 donors for 171 different nonprofit organizations and programs. This year, Metro is hosting 3 volunteer events with Hands On Portland and United Way of the Columbia Willamette. So in addition to these opportunities for our employees to volunteer on paid time, Metro is also hosting its annual silent auction, which is going to start on Monday, November 14th, run through the 22nd of November. Last year we had things donated, more than 30 items, including wine, homemade gifts, fun experiences such as knitting lessons and dinners. So I would encourage everyone to take a quick look at that silent auction next week. You can find some really amazing items and find some really unique gifts for the holidays. And you also, which I know everyone's going to want to do, you have time to sign up for a virtual Parks Yahtzee tournament. And if you want a chance to win the Fuzzy Dice Trophy, you can email Metro Community Campaign at OregonMetro.gov. Again, it's Metro Community Campaign, all one word, at OregonMetro.gov by the end of the day today. So the Yahtzee tournament, you got to sign up today.
Somebody's about to announce Yahtzee within this virtual room. You almost want to.
Right? That is my update.
Thank you. That's awesome. Counselors, any communication for today? While I wait for a hand to raise, I just want to remind folks I will be out next week traveling to Japan with the Seattle Chamber. I was asked to attend. It's a high-speed rail system tour along with sustainable energy innovation tour, and I will find out more about what the state of Washington is wanting to work on in terms of high-speed rail and high energy or sustainable energy projects, which is exciting. But it is also a good way to spend some time with a lot of the companies that may be headquartered in Washington State, but actually have a significant employee base and presence here in the Portland region. So, anybody else? Oh, yes. Councilor Huang, then Craddock, Gonzalez, and Lewis.
Thank you, Madam President, and I hope you have a great trip. And as you alluded to earlier in the meeting, I'd like to just update the council that the Partnership and Community Investments Program Manager position that we all funded in the last budget cycle is now open on our website and accepting applications. This position will have the opportunity to help community organizations navigate and cut red tape, leverage resources by stacking public funding opportunities with private investments, and fill gaps in current financing structures that can stall important projects. And we had a presentation on many of our region's most important projects earlier this meeting as well. So I'm sharing this opportunity out with my networks And I hope my colleagues will do the same. Your policy advisors can provide you with a job posting. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for all of your hard work on that, Counselor. It got kicked off prior to you, and with your experience, professional and as just a person who has been working in this field for a while, I just want to say thank you for taking it, shaping it, and seeing it across the finish line. This is a huge step forward for us to be able to leverage our influence within the region to fill the gaps that bureaucracy and private sector don't fill. So thank you.
That's very kind.
Councilor Craddock, then Gonzalez, then Lewis.
Thank you. Just wanted to bring to public attention that this morning we had the fifth joint meeting with JPAC, the Metro Council and JPAC coming together to focus on issues that we are considering for the 2023 Regional Transportation Plan. And so thank you to all the councilors for joining these meetings. They've all been bright and early at 7:30 in the morning. But this is the final discussion that we have as staff move forward to the next steps of preparing for the 2023 Regional Transportation Plan. This one focused on climate, and my perspective is one of the most important discussions that we have. Today's discussion focused more about what can we specifically do to implement the plan that we already have. And so I appreciated the discussion and comments that the participants made. So thank you, councilors, for being there and then joining this discussion, and look forward to following you as you move forward to adopt the 2023 plan next year. So I don't know if Councilor Gonzalez or Lewis or any of the councilors want to add to this regarding the discussion that we had this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Craddock. Councilor Gonzalez?
Thanks, President Peterson. I figured since I just had my hand up, I'd just echo Shirley's comments, and it's really nice to see a good contingent of the Metro Council participating too. Really, really good dialogue. A lot of regional perspectives around priorities and trade-offs, and behavior shift. It was good. It felt like really, really like good discussion about what we want to be in 10, 15 plus years, and what we want our system to look like. I wanted to follow up on an email I forwarded a few days ago to the council that I'll be in Phoenix, Arizona next week on Tuesday, attending a dinner with a CDFI, a community development finance institution that invests in local capacity of local organizations, like Councilor Huang was mentioning, is important, and just looking to continue building coalition and alliances with folks that can deliver more capital to our community and really help us supercharge our local public investment and leverage that more. So I'll be gone Tuesday, back Wednesday, and excited to go. Thanks.
Great. Good. It's good news. Councilor Lewis.
Sure, thank you so much. I wanted to report back on a long series of meetings I attended from my little cave yesterday. First, the Housing Bond Oversight Committee met. Second, the fourth meeting and first business meeting of the Tri-County Planning Body met. In that agenda, we actually started to prioritize items, not only items that had been brought forward by the three counties, for better systems alignment, but also items that had been brought forward by members of that committee for systems transformation. Rose to the top that ARLA is going to need not only programmatic work, but also a discussion of what happens at the end of our 10-year period, and how that can be turned into a more sustainable, longer-term investment, particularly if it's going to continue to be matched with investments in sticks and bricks development with the bond. And also a desire on multiple fronts to better align our work with state investments in behavioral health, mental health, And some people are more interested in a match or with a Medicaid waiver and traditional expenditures, and some people are more interested in facility or programmatic work. We did also have a discussion of staff training and wages. So lots of work to be done there, I think, to get the work plan for that body. But we actually started talking about meaty things. And then finally, I attended MPAC, as did two others here, but my hand is up. That meeting, we didn't get to the housing item because we got so deep into the weeds, both with Elliott Rose's presentation, which we've now all seen at least twice. And we also did a deep discussion of the COO report on the potential land swap. A motion was made for the third option. Vote was taken. It was a divided vote. I believe it was 8-4 to recommend that. The 4 dissenting votes opposed mostly were reflective of the desire for more in-depth discussion through a pause as requested by Clackamas County based on the Chair Tootie Smith's letter and verbal testimony last night. We can go into more in depth as to what the Clackamas County understanding of this process is, what their concerns are at a later time, but just need situational awareness of everybody that vote was taken and it was divided.
Great, thank you for that update. And yes, there's more conversation to come. Any other communications? All right, seeing no further discussion, the council meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 15th, 2022 at 10:30 a.m. See you all there.
Recording stopped.